This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Regina League.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast here in South Charlotte. Today, I am speaking with Lindsey Easterling, and she is the founder of Easterling Law in Matthews. Welcome, Lindsay.
Hi, so great to be here.
Yeah, it's fun. I went to your website, and you guys are, first I might want to say, you are an all-female team.
Yes, including the office dog as a girl. So yes.
Oh my God.
It's not so intentional, but it's been a fun ride to build this business and support other women in their employment, and it just puts a different touch on it, I think.
I would think so. So let's start. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got into becoming an attorney and starting your own firm.
Yeah, I did not know I was going to go into law, but as I made my path here, I knew I was passionate about children, passionate about families, and now self-reflecting back, my parents went through a really nasty litigious divorce when I was in middle school through high school, and they still don't talk, and I'm a grown woman and still kind of managing my parents' divorce. I don't want that for families. I wish that my parents would have had a different option or been informed as to the negatives of going through a really litigious battle. So here I am now with my firm that's really passionate. Everyone in my office is really passionate about families staying out of court if at all possible, and kind of holding ourselves to a standard that will potentially not affect kids as negatively going forward. So yeah, and I opened my own firm. I was in nonprofit world in Michigan for 5 years. And then when I moved here, it's harder to get into the nonprofit world without working for free a couple of years. And I couldn't do that. I worked for some bigger firms and realized that wasn't for me either. So I had to create something specific that would fit who I am and what I want, what population I want to serve. So here we are 10 years later.
So what is that mission? What does that look like now?
I describe us more like a holistic firm. One thing, people may not know how attorneys bill. We bill by the hour. Some firms have billable requirements. Their staff has to bill X amount of hours per month. We don't have that because if it's not in a client's best interest, then we're not going to do it. We'll talk to the client about that. So I feel like we're able to serve clients' needs specifically without this other looming requirement for my staff and for myself. We're obviously still a business and need to make money, but it's something specific. We also try to stay out of court. So if you have a consultation, we're going to educate you. Here's what it could look like. Here's why you'd want to go to court. Here's why you may not.
Wow. Yeah, it seems like that is a newer trend. I see words like collaborative law, mediation. What is the difference in those two?
So mediation is definitely an older practice that a lot more people would know that word, that trigger word. Mediation is where the two parties would be with a mediator, a trained person, and that person's goal would be to help them come to an agreement. If you have lawyers, then you and your spouse are going to be in separate rooms with the mediator going back and forth. I don't recommend you going to a mediation without first talking to a lawyer, because a mediator has no power. They can't educate you in the law. They can't give you legal advice. So if you go in blind, you may agree to something that's a really bad deal for you. So talk to a lawyer first, then do mediation with or without a lawyer. But then collaborative law is kind of more formal. You'll sign a contract with yourself, your spouse, two attorneys, and sometimes a divorce coach. Everyone's agreeing to this process, and everyone's agreeing by contract not to go to court. So there's not this threat of being sued. Sometimes mediation is within that process, but it's more of a confirmed agreement. No one's going to court. We're going to try and do this in a way that is more creative. A judge isn't making a decision. You get to make the decision. We've come up some really creative solutions, both for kids, custody schedules, division of money. It's more of a specific decision curated for your family, which you're not going to get in court.
I love that. Very personal. So then that both sides have to agree to that type of divorce process.
Right. So sometimes I'll have clients that come in and they're really excited about this process. They're really excited to be collaborative. It definitely aligns with their emotional needs and their financial needs. But if your spouse doesn't agree, we can't do that process. Same with if you want to stay out of court. If your spouse doesn't think that's right for them, they can start a court case. And that's hard, but it's kind of the lot you've been dealt if that's what your spouse chooses.
Right, right. What are you seeing these days with couples? Are they more open to that?
I think so. I think court's scary. Court is really scary. It should be, because you're letting a judge decide sometimes within one day how all of your marital assets should be divided. In one day, less than 8 hours, they get to decide the rest of your kid's future. It's also a lot of money for families that, I told someone today, I was like, let's save money so you can pay for your kids to go to college instead of you paying for my kids to go to college. Let's come up with a resolution that can keep money in your family's pockets versus mine.
What do you wish people knew when, they're thinking about a divorce? And I'm sure you just sometimes bang your head and go, oh my God, what do you wish people knew?
A consultation with a lawyer is a lot of money for a lot of people. $300, $400, $500.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it is some of the best money you can spend to just meet with someone and learn about what your options are. Because is the grass really greener if you get divorced? Is it actually better to stay in the marriage? Should you at least know both options? I tell people I'm not pro-divorce. If you want to stay together, great, but stay together and know what your rights are, or divorce and know what your rights are. Whatever that is, be educated. So I wish people were less scared to have a meeting with a lawyer just to learn. Some lawyers may be more high pressure sales than I am. I don't know. I've not consulted with another lawyer, but I'm not high pressure sales. I just want people to know their rights.
So what would be the right questions? It's such an emotional time for someone. And then I suppose not even knowing if the other side is going to want to do it like you. So, give them some examples of the right things to ask in those kind of meetings up front.
I think you would want to know what do I need to know about my finances? What kind of things should I be looking for? Should I get bank statements? Should I get retirement statements? What even matters document wise, so people can start. It gets overwhelming if you have to do this in a week versus if you have a couple months to kind of gather your things. So sometimes you can't help it. It's within a week, you got to get stuff together. But I think if you had more time, that would be one question. I think talking about a strategy of how and when to tell your spouse is good. Sometimes your brain is really stressed out to be still in the same house as your spouse. And you may just say, I just want to tell him I'm done. That might not be the best plan. Maybe we should get some things figured out and a plan of action before you just yell it in an argument that you want a divorce.
Well, that had never even dawned on me, that you haven't even told them yet you want a divorce. So that's maybe a clue right there to really get your ducks in a row and know what you're getting into before you make that decision or announcement to the other person.
Absolutely. I think a meeting before you make that announcement is good. People are very, very easy to say, we went to therapy first. Go talk to a lawyer, just like to see what you should be doing.
Who is your ideal client?
We represent both men and women. So it's not, although we're all a female firm, we represent both men and women. It's people that want to start a new chapter in their life and peacefully close this chapter. If they're out for blood and they're out for vengeance, which is sometimes where people are, and that's not bad. I'm just not their lawyer.
Wow.
There are other lawyers that are really good with that. That's just not me. So even if you don't know your finances, or you know every single penny that your family has access to, both of those clients can come to my office and we can give them an education. I think people that have been maybe financially in the dark, I think are good clients for me because I can educate them in a way that's not going to make them feel stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also pretty compassionate in the way that I speak. So if you're afraid that you hire a pit bull lawyer and they're going to be just as mean as your spouse, that's not who we are. Maybe you think you need that lawyer, but maybe that won't help you in this very, very stressful process.
Well, that approach kind of diffuses that, anxiety of a lot of things, just listening to how you approach it. It's very nice. So what are you most proud of?
When I envision what I'm proud of, I envision the client that comes to my office, and when they come in, they're so stressed, they're so scared. Even their body shows that. So like hunched shoulders, or like maybe their hands are shaking, or every time they talk about it, they tear up. Mm-hmm. And so I envision that being who I first meet. And then when they're done, it's almost as if they've had a physical transformation too. They feel good about the changes that they've made. They feel like they're ready to move forward. They've probably had to give up some things that they thought they would have, but in the end, the overall agreement they're good with, they're confident with, and they just present different. They walk taller, their face is brighter, and I don't know. It's just such a cool thing to witness, because there's a part of their life that I've experienced, but there's so much more that they've went through in this very difficult and emotional process. So to see them change physically is really cool.
Seeing that light at the end of the tunnel it's transforming for sure.
Yes, I love it.
So walk us through your services. On your website, you've got everything laid out beautifully, but just tell us what the services are.
So we help families that want to divorce or separate. If you aren't married but you have children, we can help with child custody and child support. Or if you are married and have children, we can help with that too. There's two different processes that people are unaware. It feels like they're lumped together when you Google things. So we can give you a divorce, but that's just becoming unmarried. It's paperwork and a court process, but the separation agreement or the division of your assets, the alimony, the custody, that's the meat of what we do. And that's separate from a divorce. So we can help you finalize and negotiate those things before you separate, after you separate, before the 1 year. So I think getting those things finalized for people is what we're doing most of the time. So equitable distribution, which is the division of your assets and debts, alimony and spousal support, child custody and child support. Prenuptials too. So if you're about to get married and you don't want to go through that process, we could do that too.
I love it. Lindsay, amazing. You have a lot to be proud of. Tell our listeners how they can find you guys, or you ladies, I should say.
We're at easterlingfamilylaw.com. That's the best way to contact us or to learn more about us, or call for a consultation, which is 980-272-1365.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpsouthcharlotte.com. That's gnpsouthcharlotte.com, or call 980-351-5719.